Hey everyone, Voltie here with another deck tech, new recipe straight from the kitchen. Today we're going to be going over Mardu Jegantha. I think this could be a real direction that the mid-range decks and the mid-range players of 7 Point can move in, mainly with the printing of Flage as one of the new endgame pieces to close out against the other mid-range decks, so let's get right into it. So starting off, we're going to be playing Jegantha as a companion. Now this does mean we lose a couple of critical pieces, things like Grief, Solitude and Fury, which are all very real costs. However, I don't think it can be... I think it's understated just how important having a companion is, and if you're playing a mid-range deck and you're trading resources really aggressively, having an extra 5/5 in your opening hand is quite potent, so I think this is worth a look. For our creature package, we've got a lot of the usual offenders. So for 1-drops, we've got Darcy, Ragavan, Stalactite Stalker, and Nethergoyf. We're also playing a Mother of Runes to protect our threats, and we're playing a Death Shadow as an individually powerful threat, but that's not quite a 1-drop. In our 2-drop slot, it's pretty heavy with hitters. We've got Ajani, we've got Dreadhorde Arcanist as a point, Inti, Orcish Bowmasters, and as another point, Stoneforge. Samwise can pick up quite a lot of things, but most of the time you'll probably pick up a fetch. However, if a creature dies in combat, then obviously this is a 2-mana 2/1 draw a card. And Kroxa, which is one of our pieces for closing the game out. Our 3-drops, we've got Baraglyph, which is an incredibly powerful threat. It threatens to draw you a million cards. It has lifelink. It's impossible to block. I think this card is really, really powerful. We've got Broadside Bombardiers, Laelia, and Flage, which is, again, part of that closing endgame that we're looking for. And then we've got some other role players. Now, as this is a mid-range deck, we're obviously going to need to interact with our opponent quite heavily and force the trade of resources. So we've got our 3 discard spells, Dread Fugue, Inquisition, Thoughtseize. We've got some removal, Prismatic Ending, and Molten Collapse. We have Reanimate, which I think is worth spending a point on even if you're not swamp cycling a troll, although you can put a troll in the deck if you want, but I think our threat package is powerful enough, and there's not quite enough space that I've omitted it from this initial draft of the deck. And then we have 4 Theolingus. This card is a fireball, it ends the game, and it introduces a mechanic that can just solo people, so worth spending a point there. For instance, it's purely interactive. We've got 4 removal spells and a misstep, nothing too crazy here. For artifacts, we have our 3 equipment that Stoneforge can get. Shadow Spear giving lifelink is going to be a real big deal when we're trying to race people. Jit obviously single-handedly wins creature matchups, and Pre-War Formal War, which is a personal pet card of mine. We also have 2 baubles. This is to power up our Goyfs and our Dragon Rage Channeler. If you'd like, you can play slightly different pieces. You could theoretically play a couple of other artifacts in the main, like a Nihil Spellbomb, but without Saga, I think it's a little less powerful. And then for enchantments, there's only one real viable enchantment in our colours, which is Fable. There are a couple of other options, but I think this is the main one that we want to be playing. In our mana base, nothing too crazy here. There are some things of note. I did spend a point on Karakas. I think Karakas Samwise is really powerful. Karakas Ragavan is really powerful as a way to protect it. And obviously it helps in the Reanimator and Sneak Attack-esque deck matchups. I've also put in a Takenoma for now. I think it has enough equity and we have enough legendary creatures that we can get it to cost 2. And if it can cost 2, it's a fine effect to be using on your land. Once it costs 3 or 4 pretty regularly, that's where it's kind of a lot worse. So if you'd like to cut the Takenoma, I think that's very reasonable. And then Arena of Glory. I think this card is incredibly powerful in a deck like this. The fact that both of our escape creatures, Kroxa and Flage, have double red in their pips is really, really scary when you can threaten to give haste to one of those creatures. You get 2 effects and you might just blow someone up from nowhere. Sideboard is pretty stock, if I'm honest. We have a Jegantha, as expected. We've got our Rebs, we've got our Graveyard pieces. We have some disenchants and artifact removal. Vanishing Verse is a really powerful spell that I think not enough people are playing. And I think the fact that it exiles anything from Murktide Regent to Sheoldred to Rest in Peace is really, really powerful. There's the Duress as the last discard spell, alongside Invasion as a bit of interaction. Opposition Agent, which is just an individually powerful card. I've also put a Zoraline in the sideboard. I actually think this card really needs to start seeing some play, considering for 5 mana, you're getting a 3/3 body that can threaten to win the game on its own, and you're reanimating a 3-drop. So if you're paying 5 mana and you get a 3/3 fly that threatens to win the game and a Broadside Bombardier, it's absurdly... it's such a big tempo swing for... a pretty steep cost. Like, Zoraline on 3 isn't something you'll be doing. You'll have to do it on 5. But if you are doing it on 5, it's like another pre-wall formal wear, except it has the potential to keep doing the reanimate thing. In the considering pile are a bunch of other cards that you can think about. But otherwise, that's this deck. I really do think this deck might be where mid-range players go to from here on out. There haven't been as many draws to Jund as they're printed in the last couple of sets, as there have been in White, for example. Like, Ajani is really powerful and Flage is really busted. So I wouldn't be surprised if a deck like this becomes quite high value, and I think it's worth giving a shot. Obviously, if you don't want to play Jegantha and you want to have access to Grief, Solitude, and Fury, and you can play it Ephemerate, that's a completely different deck. But for now, I'm going to give this a spin next time I feel like mid-ranging it up. This video is brought to you by all of my patrons and donors. If you'd like to support me and my content and see your name up here on screen, you can click on the links below. If you like the video, you can subscribe if you'd like. I really do appreciate each subscription that we get, and I'll notify you of upcoming videos. But otherwise, leaving a like on the video will help as well. The deck list will be in the description below, so you can check it out there. But otherwise, I'll catch you next time.